Before we get started with today's video, I'd just like to mention that this video is very inspired by a series of essays by the channel The Take. If you want some really great Breaking Bad analysis videos, please go check out their channel. This video piggybacks off a lot of the ideas that they propose in their videos, so please go check them out. With that out of the way, grab a snack, grab some meth, get comfortable, and let's get into the video.
Chemistry is, well, technically, chemistry is the study of matter. But I prefer to see it as the study of change. It is growth, then decay, then transformation.
This line is spoken by Walter White in Season 1, Episode 1 of the prestige television hit Breaking Bad. Because of the huge attention to detail and the abundance of subtext, Breaking Bad is ripe for discussion, from fan theories to debates over the true meaning and moral of the show. But the one thing that fans love to discuss most? When did Walter White become Heisenberg? To answer this question, we first need context. Walter White is an unassuming, mild-mannered pushover of a man. With a pregnant wife and a disabled son, his pitiable job as a high school chemistry teacher barely pays the bills, and he has to work a second job at a car wash. Things go from bad to worse when he's diagnosed with lung cancer, the treatment of which will leave his family destitute. The show frames Walter's life to be pitiful, desperate, and sad.
Hey, Mr. White. Make those tires shine, huh?
Oh my god. You would not believe he's cleaning Ted's car.
Throughout the show, Walter uses the alias Heisenberg when cooking and dealing meth. The name is basically his whole brand, and throughout the business people come to know and fear the name Heisenberg, the one who knocks.
You're goddamn right.
So, back to our question, when did Walter White fully transform into Heisenberg? In an article by cheatsheet.com, they proposed that it was Season 4, Episode 6, Cornered. Skylar, worried that Walter's in danger, begs him to go to the police for the safety of their children.
We go to the police.
No, I don't want to hear about the police.
I do not say that lightly.
Walt is dressed in dark red to symbolize the blood on his hands and his descent into madness and violence. He gets up and removes his dress shirt to reveal a darker red shirt underneath.
Who are you talking to right now? Who is it you think you see?
The scene uses color and symbolism to convey that he is truly evil, not just as a front or when he's Heisenberg, but he himself, Walter White, is an evil, violent man, inside and out. In this scene, he symbolically sheds his exterior, transforming from Walter White into Heisenberg. On the other hand, some believe the transformation actually occurs in Season 4, Episode 11, Crawl Space. In one of the show's most infamous scenes, Walt believes that he and his family are about to be killed and scrambles into the crawl space to retrieve the $500,000 stored inside. He finds out that Skylar gave the money to Ted Beneke, the man that she had an affair with. Walter breaks down, screaming, and then begins laughing hysterically as the camera slowly pans out. Cinematically, the shot frames the crawl space as a grave. He may not have been murdered, but spiritually, Walter White died and was buried in the crawl space, emerging anew as Heisenberg. But even then, others claim that it was actually in Season 5, Episode 14, Ozymandias. Throughout the series, Walt consistently claimed that all he did for his family. The drugs, the violence, the lies were all for the good of his wife and children. However, when Uncle Jack kills Hank Schrader, that all comes crumbling down.
You gotta tell him now that we can work this out. Please. Please.
What? You want me to beg? You're the smartest guy I ever met. And you're too stupid to see. He made up his mind 10 minutes ago. Do what you're gonna do.
Walt falls to the ground as the dead body of his brother-in-law lays before him, a symbol of his lies. Walt is a pathological liar. He lies to Flynn, Skylar, Hank, Saul, Gus, and more, but the one person he lies to the most is himself. Until Ozymandias, he had convinced himself that his actions were for the good of the family and therefore excusable. It isn't until he sees the body of one of his family members shot dead and symbolically buried in the hole he dug that he sees the truth. It was never about his family at all. Walt crumbles to the ground much like the titular king Ozymandias. As he falls, the last remnants of Walter White die out and Heisenberg rises like a phoenix from the ashes. But I propose a different theory. Walter White has always been Heisenberg. Your first instinct may be to disagree. After all, the story is clearly a fall from grace. Walter White starts the show as an innocent, kind, hardworking family man and ends it as the violent and twisted drug kingpin Heisenberg. How can Season 1 Walt and Season 5 Walt even be remotely compared as characters? Well, the truth is, Walt was always bad from the very first second of the very first episode. Firstly, let's go back to Walt's youth. He had co-founded the pharmaceutical company Grey Matter alongside his college friend Elliot. While working there, Walt fell in love with his lab assistant Gretchen. The two began a passionate relationship and cared very deeply for one another. Many have pointed out that even after marrying Skylar, Walt seems to have a very special connection with Gretchen and possibly lingering feelings. So if their love was so strong, why did Walt leave? In an interview for AMC, Jessica Hecht, the actor who played Gretchen, shone some light on the subject. Quote, "We were very much in love and were to get married, and he came home and met my family, and I come from this really successful, wealthy family, and that knocks him on his side. He couldn't deal with this inferiority he felt, this lack of connection to privilege. It made him terrified, and he literally just left me, and I was devastated." This is our first sign of Walt's feelings of insecurity and inferiority. Gretchen and her family never belittled or judged Walt for having less money, but the mere presence of status and wealth threatened Walt's ego so badly that he dropped everything, including his relationship with Gretchen and his share in the company that he helped build. He didn't consider or care about Gretchen's feelings and abandoned her without explanation to protect his own bruised ego.
I feel so sorry for you, Walt.
Fuck you.
This is cruelly ironic, as it was Walt's ego that caused him to leave Grey Matter, something that would haunt him for the rest of his life and would be his underlying motive for Breaking Bad. Another example can be seen in Season 3, Episode 13, titled Full Measure. We're shown a flashback of a young Walt and Skylar looking to purchase their first house. Note that in this scene, Walt is wearing a black leather jacket, symbolizing his inner darkness even at this early stage in life. This contrasts with the light pink of Skylar's outfit, showing her innocence and naivety to Walt's dark side. While Skylar seems happy with the house, which has 3 bedrooms and a pool, Walt claims they'll need at least 5 bedrooms and that the house won't be enough.
I don't think this is going to be enough.
This is as good as it gets.
Well, then let's stretch our price range. Truly, I mean, why buy a starter house when we'll have to move out in a year or two? No, I'm serious. Come on. Why be cautious? We've got nowhere to go but up.
The scene subtly shows Walt's ego and inflated sense of importance, cleverly contrasted with Skylar's more realistic and normal worldview. Skylar just doesn't understand why Walter wants more when they already have enough. Seeing any parallels? In this scene, Walt is Heisenberg. It's this line of selfish, greedy, and egotistical thinking that leads Walt to commit acts of violence and cruelty later in life. He has enough. He often has more than enough, but always wants more. By the 3rd season, Walt's cancer is in remission, he has a new baby daughter, and he has more money than he could ever spend in a lifetime. And yet, he keeps going, not to protect his family as he so often claims, but simply because he enjoyed the power it gave him.
I have to hear one more time that you did this for the family.
I did it for me. I liked it. I was good at it.
As a final example, we can look at episode 1 of season 1 pilot. In this episode, we see Walter's first true instances of Breaking Bad. After his diagnosis, he attacks and intimidates some bullies, he cusses out his boss and quits his job, he blackmails a former student into cooking meth with him, not to mention the fact that he took out his life savings to purchase an RV, a move that could have ruined his family financially. These examples, taken from a select number of episodes, show that Walter White always had the traits to become Heisenberg. Cancer was just the catalyst. Many people claim that the first half of the series is Walter White trying to be Heisenberg, and the last half is Heisenberg trying to be Walter. So let's look into the concept of Heisenberg as Walter. So, we can see from the above examples that Walt was always Heisenberg, but it works the other way too. Even in Heisenberg's most depraved and cruel moments, we could see hints of Walter White. We could see traces of his more honourable traits, like his love for his family and his morals. In Ozymandias, when Uncle Jack has Hank at gunpoint, Walt begs and bargains with Jack to spare him, despite the fact that he was the one that called Jack to the location in the first place.
Don't kill him.
Back it up.
Don't
Come
kill
on,
him.
come on.
Don't kill him.
Can't back it.
The hell not, he's DEA.
No, he's family.
Sorry, man. Just no scenario where this guy lives.
No, listen. I have money. It's buried out here.
Walt offers Jack over $80 million, all of his money, just to spare Hank's life. When Jack shoots Hank, Walter is broken. As mentioned earlier, Walter's facing the reality that he never really cared about protecting his family, and his actions have now directly resulted in the death of a family member. In this moment, we see Walt truly mourning his actions, the first time he has been truly forced to feel the weight of his decisions. In Season 2, Episode 12, Phoenix, Walt finds Jesse and his girlfriend Jane passed out on the bed having overdosed on heroin. Walt, jealous of Jesse's affection towards Jane and knowing that she and the heroin are distracting him from his job, makes the cold-hearted decision to allow Jane to die. After Jane dies, Walt begins to cry, looking on in shock and despair at what he's done. The scene brilliantly contrasts the vile action of Heisenberg with the shocked and upset reaction of Walter White. Even at his most cold-blooded, traces of Walter can still be seen in Heisenberg. Finally, there are multiple points in the show where Walter's last remnants of morality are struggling against Heisenberg. In the first episode, after Walter thinks he and Jesse have been discovered, he films a video for his family and attempts to shoot himself, but it fails. I believe that this scene symbolically shows Walter trying to kill Heisenberg before things get out of control. His last remnants of goodness and morality recognize the darkness taking over Walt, much like the cancer is taking over his body. This scene is very similar to one in Fight Club, which also represents the killing of the ego. In Season 4, Episode 4, Bullet Points, when Hank is investigating the writings of Gail Bedecker, he sees the initials WW and jokingly asks if it stands for Walter White.
WW. I mean, who you figure that is, huh? Woodrow Wilson? Willy Wonka? Walter White?
You got me.
Similarly, in Season 3, Episode 1, No Ma, when Hank is helping Walt pack his belongings to move out of the house, he openly admits to his DEA brother-in-law that he has $500,000, but Hank dismisses it as a joke.
Whoa, no heavy lifting. I got it.
No, it's okay.
I got it. Jesus. What do you got in there? Cinder blocks?
$500,000 in cash.
These two scenes show that underneath there are still some remnants of his guilt and his morality. He knows what he's doing is wrong and subconsciously tries to get himself caught, possibly because deep down he knows how far he will go if not stopped. These scenes are similar to the attempted suicide from the first episode, as they show Walter in turmoil trying to fight against himself. Another example from No Ma is after Walt pieces together that Jane's death inadvertently caused the crash of the Wayfarer 515, which caused the death of nearly 200 people. Walter begins to feel remorse about his involvement and burns his stacks of money on the barbecue before Heisenberg takes over and frantically throws the money and the barbecue into the pool to salvage them. Note that the pool and its calm blue waters have typically been used as a visual representation of the blue meth in Walter's business. These examples all show that Walt is not like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. He doesn't switch at the drop of a hat. Walter White and Heisenberg coexist as one person. Walt always had traits of Heisenberg, yet even at Heisenberg's most disgusting, traits of Walt can be seen too. The series shows Walter's internal struggle against himself. So that leads us on to the question. Walter White was always Heisenberg, and Heisenberg was always Walter White. I think that too often people see Walt and Heisenberg as black and white, opposite sides of a coin, or one personality split in half. In reality, Heisenberg is not a person or a character or a mask or a persona. It's the representation of the potential for evil in all of us. For Walt, it was insecurity, ego, greed, jealousy, and thirst for power. These were all traits that he always had, from his seething jealousy and anger towards Gretchen and Elliot, to his perceived inability to provide for his own family, which emasculated him and worsened his insecurity. These feelings were left to fester for years, and when Walt received his diagnosis, he made the decision to embrace his darkest impulses. All it takes is one bad day to reduce the sanest man alive to lunacy. This quote from Batman, The Killing Joke, aptly sums up the concept of Heisenberg. His insecurities and flaws caused him to make poor decisions and do things that were wrong, but when he received his cancer diagnosis, it pushed him to embrace the worst in himself. All of his feelings of anger, emasculation, inadequacy, contempt, jealousy, and greed. On the topic, an article by iNews.com stated, "What changes isn't Walt's inherent character. What changes are his circumstances and the ability to wield power." Breaking Bad is not really the story of Mr. Chips becoming Scarface, it's of a world-weary, downbeaten man seeing a chance to become powerful and rich and seizing it when he thinks he's got nothing left to lose. Walt's character never changed, only his circumstances, a series of events both past and present that aligned in such a way to allow his Heisenberg to flourish. For Jesse, his Heisenberg was his addictive nature, his desire for approval, and most of all his naivety. Marie's Heisenberg was her vanity, her desire for status, and her unhealthy coping mechanisms. Hank's Heisenberg was his anger, his cockiness, and his traits of toxic masculinity, which often got in the way of him doing his job. Gustavo's Heisenberg was his desire for power and control, and his hatred and vengefulness. You get the point. Every character in the show, in one way or another, broke bad because of their flaws, their inner Heisenbergs. As dark as it may be, we all have our own Heisenberg. We all have our flaws, our vices, and our dark thoughts. Our pride and ego can cause us to make mistakes, say things out of anger, and hurt others, much like Walt. And like Walt, most of us will break bad. And no, I don't mean that we'll turn to a life of meth, murder, and roof pizza. We all break bad in our own ways. We hurt others and fall out with friends. We make selfish decisions. We can be cruel and mean-spirited. We get bad news or have a rough day and we take it out on others. We turn down opportunities, we lie, and we sabotage ourselves. We break bad, often unintentionally, but often because of our own faults. But unlike Walt, we still have the opportunity to take responsibility. Walter White never took responsibility.
I blame the government.
You either run from things or you face them, Mr. White.
What exactly does that mean?
I learned it in rehab. It's all about accepting who you really are. I accept who I am.
And who are you?
I'm the bad guy.
In his mind, Walter White and Heisenberg were two separate people. Walter worked as a teacher and cared for his wife and children, while Heisenberg worked in an RV, cooked meth, and murdered his enemies. In reality, it was always Walter. When we are cruel or we mess up, that's us. As cliche as it sounds, we have to take responsibility for our actions and learn from them to keep our Heisenbergs in check. When we begin to lie and shift blame for our actions onto others, like Walt, it can only end badly. Cornered, Crawl Space, and Ozymandias are all significant episodes which mark severe drops in Walter White's morality and his descent into Heisenberg. However, I don't think any of these episodes mark the turning point or the transformation of Walt into Heisenberg. So let's revisit our question one final time. When did Walter White become Heisenberg? The answer: he didn't. Walter White, like all of us, always had the potential for evil within him, and all it took was one bad day to make him break bad. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really hope you like this new style of video. I just like to quickly mention that I do have a Ko-Fi. I'm definitely not important enough for a Patreon, but I did open up a Ko-Fi just in case you wanted to donate $1 or $2 just to support the channel, help me get some better equipment, etc, etc. I'm kind of trying to go away from the art community, drama community kind of genre. I enjoy those topics, but it's just not really me. It's not the direction I want my channel to go in. So yeah, I'm trying out more of a kind of art, animation / commentary analysis kind of thing, because those are two of my favorite genres. I just love discussing film and media and pop culture and just other interesting topics, and I love art. So thank you so much for giving this video a watch if you did, and let me know of any video ideas you might have in the future or any other topics around Breaking Bad that you want me to cover, or just any feedback whatsoever. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. It genuinely does mean a lot to me. I'm gonna go now and